So stem cells isn't just about medicine. I mean, it's primarily about medicine, but it's also about business. Along with the dot-com business in the 80s, also came the biotechnology industry. And so biotechnology is now understood as one of the wings of the knowledge economy, the future economy that many Western nations, or many nations everywhere, are in fact hoping will be part of the future economies for those particular nations. And this points out how Ontario and California have been collaborating for a long time on some of these stem cell projects. It's also just to remind me about how difficult some of these debates have been around stem cells. So while Ontario and California were getting involved in some of the stem cell work, it was a huge business at the federal level in the United States, so much so that Barack Obama, the current president, promised that he would overturn the ban on creating human embryonic stem cells from embryos that were being discarded from in vitro fertilization techniques. So it's science, it's economics, and it's politics. Okay, I mentioned at the beginning that the conversations that we have, this science and faith dialogue, is a conversation that never seems to stand still. For a number of years, for at least about a decade, between the late 90s and the early part of this century, the debate was around embryonic stem cells and the origin and the need to destroy an embryo to obtain the embryonic stem cells. People were working, in addition to the project of how to use stem cells for therapy, people were also working on the questions of what are the genetic regulatory mechanisms that control the development of a stem cell into another particular cell type. So this undifferentiated cell type into, say, bone or muscle or blood. Around 2006, people discovered that with a little cocktail of genes that you spritz into your regular cells, so if you took some of your skin cells, cultured them in a dish, and then treat them with these little genetic tricks, that you can in fact cause a cell that we thought could only be a skin cell turn into what seems to be every other kind of cell that's in our body. So this changes the conversation completely. As it mentions here, found a way to turn ordinary human skin cells into what appear to be embryonic cells without having to use a human embryo. That changes the conversation completely. And so it's this idea, just given here graphically in the cartoon, that you take a differentiated cell that you have good access to, and that by some genetic tricks, you turn it into this undifferentiated cell. It looks very easy on this diagram. There's still an awful lot of detail to be worked out, but the idea has shown itself to be possible. And I think this changes the conversation completely. And that therapeutic possibilities are greater than the old embryonic stem cell thing, because just remember that whenever you do a transplantation, which was the idea of regenerative medicine, that you need to have a match between the donor and the recipient. Unless that embryo is a clone of the individual who's to receive the stem cell therapy, there's issues of rejection. Here you can take the original cell from the patient, play your genetic tricks with it, and turn it into a cell that can give rise to all of the stem cells you need. At least that's the idea. There's possibly a few oversimplifications. And so this is just to illustrate what I've just said. So if we can figure this trick out, why does it work, then we can potentially give rise to cells which are embryonic stem cell-like. They don't need to be embryonic stem cells. They need to function like embryonic stem cells. or at least they need to function in ways that give us the cells we want. So basically, can we learn to do this in a fashion that's clinically useful? Okay, I said that there's science, there's economics, and there's business. Here's another aspect of it. This sort of brings business and the needs that people bring to medicine together. These are a couple of headlines taken from the science journals Science and Nature. One's selling the stem cell dream, the other's doctors accused of doing illegal stem cell trials. Whenever a wonderful, promising new discovery comes up, people who are in need of the clinical benefits associated with that discovery are given great hope. And that is one of the wonderful things about doing research, if it gives people hope. But it also can mean people want the therapy now, long before it's really ready. And so people are pressured and respond to that pressure, trying to provide a therapy that they hope will work, but they know it's not been adequately tested. And also there are unscrupulous people who will in fact set up clinics claiming they can do something which they can't do. And if you set up your clinic in a country with not much in the line of regulations, then you can have your shingle and collect people's money. But that's the kind of thing that we long ago said in Canada, that the therapies that people offer should be tried and true, so that people aren't being victimized by the people who claim to be interested in helping.